Hi. Okay. So I realized to start all my videos like that. But the thing I wanted to talk about is how ancestral healing, in my opinion, is going to be how we create culture change. Now, hear me out. The reason why is because, so obviously, first of all, trauma is cyclical. So when, and I'm trying to get used to looking at where the camera is filming from. I feel like I've talked about this before, but then I get distracted. So just getting used to it. But trauma is cyclical. So if there's, let's say, violence in the family, right? It is cyclical and it continues through the family. If there's anger in the family, or if there's substance abuse in the family. And so in kind of a dark way, the thing that is beautiful about it, right, is that we can see on a national stage that when groups have encountered oppression, right, that violence also is cyclical. So in the United States, right, we can see that there's a lot of people who've gone through oppression. Let's say, a lot of Trump supporters. I went to Appalachia and I was in Kentucky, and it was really eye-opening, right, of how much that Appalachians have been exploited, in my opinion, by, let's say, the coal companies, where just like colonization that's happened around the world, it's also happened in these regions of this cycle of extraction, where their resources have been extracted out of the areas by these companies, and it's most of their only options to work. So they were paid, and that was the job market. But then now there's not as much resources anymore, and so there's not as many jobs there anymore. There's not as many opportunities. And so after that has happened, of experiencing extraction, where can we go from that? We can start to blame certain groups of people for the pain that we have experienced ourselves. I believe a lot of kind of extreme political opinions that can be really hateful, that have been the source of so much historically pain that's happened. The Holocaust, arguably what's happening in Israel against Palestine, is because of these unprocessed pain that's been experienced, that then we overlay politics on it. And a politician says, oh, it's these people's fault, and this group of people hasn't processed their trauma. And so then they fall into that. And so let's say I recently went to Hungary, and I was going there and healing things from my lineage on my Hungarian side, and connecting to my white side, and connecting to the experience of the people there that probably my ancestors were worked with the land, were in agriculture. But then World War II happened, and my grandfather was definitely very affected by World War II, and he also lived his life in a way that was very harmful. And that pain goes on and has affected me. And so what was really eye-opening when I was there and doing ancestral healing was that as I was healing this pain within myself, I was healing World War II. Instead of it continuing, instead of the cycles of violence continuing, I was healing that continuation so that it does not go past me. And we all have the opportunity to do that. And so that is what is so beautiful about ancestral healing, is that we can grapple with these things within ourselves. I could grapple with my grandfather being someone who is very harmful. I know people who were at the Ancestral workshop with me were grappling with grandfathers that were Nazis. And being able to, because they're our families, usually the place to get to reconciliation of those seeds that are within ourselves is by seeing the complexity of the situation, of learning what their stories were, of seeing the harm clearly, but also seeing the nuance of things. In our society, it's so easy to see things as the harm is created by a certain group of people and not us, to put ourselves in buckets of good or evil or bad and good. And to me, that won't get us anywhere because it's just not the full truth. You know, within my bloodline, I have people who are, lovers and creators and lived with the land and beautiful qualities. But I also have, on the other side, I have people who are abusive, people who were alcoholics, people who are harmful. And so grappling with those characters within myself allows me to then see them so closely and clearly that then I can deal with them on a global scale. I can deal with them on a community scale. Because when I'm talking to someone, when I'm seeing it out there, I will understand the nuance. I will see the ways that it manifests to really be the the most prepared for seeing it out there, right? So, for example, if this is just a made-up example, but let's say I see that as a result of living in World War II Germany, that my grandfather, let's say was racist. I didn't know my grandfather that well, so I don't honestly know that much about him. But I've been learning some stuff. And let's say the reason why that happened, like I said, is because of the hardship he went through. And then the overlaying politics allowed it to be manipulated into fueling that hatred onto a group of people. Or also seeing, I know in most of Europe, there's a lot of racism because they're not as diverse and mixed as we are in the US. And so if you go to Spain, there's almost no Black people. And so there can be this tribalism that people feel that anyone of a different race is an outsider. And obviously there's so much nuance in everything, but the more that we become intimate with the nuances of our family members within ourselves, of seeing things that are not just black and white, it's not just I can hate, my white family members or my oppressive family members, and then I can love my, brown family members and the ones that did good things. We see that they're all woven and mixed in, that maybe some of my brown family members were actually, really assimilated to survive, because that's what they thought was their option, and that then in that assimilation, they were harmful to other Mexican people, for example. So the more that we can grapple with these things, then when we encounter someone in our real lives or within ourselves, we encounter it, we can both see the nuances of their experience, right? I am never going to be able to change someone or even just not have the war energy of trying to, battle with someone if I'm just like, they're bad, and I make them into a one-dimensional person. Even people who are doing harmful things, right? If I'm making them into a one-dimensional person, I'm doing the same thing. And so how do I start to zoom out and make them more three-dimensional, just like my family members. And so the more we can do that, the more we can do that with everyone. We have built the skill, and we've built the skill of doing that within ourselves, of seeing that, oh, because my ancestors have done these things, I may have been past some of these qualities, some of these survival qualities, some of these dog eat dog world qualities of how I manage my finances, that I'm in scarcity. So I'm really not willing to share my resources until I'm wealthy because I'm too scared I'm going to run out of money. And that comes from my family. And so the more that we can see that within ourselves, instead of just being stuck to, I'm a good person and those people are the bad people and I have nothing to look at other than fighting against those people that they need to change, when there's actually so much right here that needs to change. And the reason why ancestor work really works so well with this is because it allows us to, again, zoom out, to take the weight off of just our shoulders, to see that this is a generations long issue. And shadow work and seeing what we're doing that's harmful on a society level is really difficult because we have so much shame there. And what's inherently how shame is created is by feeling cut off from community, of feeling that there's something inherently wrong with me. And so that the more we can zoom out and think, oh, yes, I do that. I contribute to racism, to some of the isms because of my unexamined beliefs, or I contribute to, just the issues that are going on in the world. But of course I do, because when I zoom out, everyone in my family has been in survival down this generation. And so for me to heal that, I'm healing 3 generations worth of people's entire lifetimes that they've been dealing with this. And so it allows us to shift from shame into a place of actually, this is a community issue that we're dealing with, me and my ancestors. We're dealing with how to move past this sense of scarcity that capitalism has put so many of us in. And so of course I'm gonna have a hard time with it. Of course I'm struggling. I wasn't born just this person that's not affected by society or my family. I am affected by them. And so I'm gonna have a lot more compassion with myself. And I'm also gonna have support as I lean into the fact that they also want to support me in the healing, because they also have struggled with it. And they also know it's not our highest path to live that way any longer. And so we can ask for help and support in moving through these things and healing them in a place of radical self-compassion, because they are, issues in our lineage. So thanks for listening. Yes, this is a big topic. I was sharing a lot during one of my sessions today. I'm now working on offerings around helping people step into, doing healing that's specifically for people's to be walking their divine purpose. And that could be the things needed to find that path, but it also could be to keep walking that path. When we're making radically different organizations, businesses, embodying ourselves, the new healed ways of living, that supporting that journey. And so it's been so fun. So you can follow my newsletter to find out updates on when I'm going to release that, which will probably be in the next month. And I also I'm working on a class that's coming out that's kind of around these topics. So if you're interested, also you can follow along. And I'm obviously building my channel, so I'd love for any likes or comments of anything that resonated with you, or subscriptions, or subscribers. You're not subscriber. Okay. I hope everyone has a good day. And if there's any also questions, I can always do follow-up ones if you want to write in the comments. Okay, have a good rest of the day.